All right, guys, how's it going? So I've been out and I've bought the 3 Spanish football dailies for you today. Thanks to Gareth Turner at Copites of Anfield for supporting my channel. I was able to do that for you today. I went to the cafe. I had a coffee. Well, I had 2 coffees, actually. Didn't have any breakfast, so trying to be a good boy. And as you can see, the papers are not behind me. And if the papers are not behind me, that means I've got nothing to show you. And so I leave them in the cafe for the workmen. There was a lot of talk about the international football, obviously a focus on Spain. I think they play this evening, maybe against Switzerland, I'm not sure. Do you know what? I read the Spanish football daily today, and today, from reading those, I discovered that England played yesterday, I think, against Ireland. I had no idea. I'm zero interest in international football unless it's the World Cup or the Euros. And, I've been away on my travels the last couple of weeks, as you know, and it just shows you how really I've paid fucking no attention to any of it. To be honest with you. Anyway, but what they were talking about was Zubimendi's injury. I think he has a hip injury. It's not serious. Some people might be interested, as to whether he's got a serious injury, because there'll be people thinking he might be on the move in January somewhere. But no, apparently this hip injury isn't serious. I think he's withdrawn from the Spain squad, as Rafa Benitez would say. For sure, squad. And he should be available for their derby game, Real Sociedad's derby at the weekend. There was nothing to do with Trent Alexander-Arnold in the newspapers. I think that's important to tell you that, because the Liverpool clique of journalists, they want you to believe that there's this constant reporting in the Spanish papers about Real Madrid and Trent Alexander-Arnold, and they're ramping up their interest. You remember, we've been saying it for months, haven't we? And you know what? When I started doing these daily reviews again of what is and isn't in the Spanish football dailies each day, did you notice that stopped? Some of you that follow everything will have seen that, right? So there's nothing in the Spanish football dailies today about Trent Alexander-Arnold. That doesn't mean that there won't be from some poxy Spanish website or something, but we really should only pay attention, I think, to those 3 Spanish football dailies, because they really do set the mood. And it really depends which ones you're reading. Marca, obviously, heavily Real Madrid biased. Sport, bias towards Barcelona. There was quite a significant write-up about the crisis, the so-called crisis at Real Madrid. And I just want to touch on this very briefly with you. There was an article which was discussing the growing concerns within Real Madrid, quote, about the effectiveness of their physical preparation, which is under coach Antonio Pintos, apparently. And basically, the article was highlighting a significant number of injuries affecting the team, which is impacting the performance and, creating speculation about possibly going for a right-back and a centre-back in the January window. We know Perez doesn't want to do that. We know that Ancelotti, the chief executive, the director of football, do want to do that, but Perez doesn't like to do anything in January, in the winter window, hasn't done anything for 5 or 6 years, I think. But, the pressure is on. We've been talking about it for months. If the results go badly, if there's any serious injuries, then they will have to, it's more likely that they could move for Trent, for example. And, obviously when they got that injury to Carvajal, that really ramped up the possibility that Trent might get his move there. And then I said to you, keep an eye on the results. And obviously, the form hasn't been great. So because of that, that again increases the possibility that they could move for Trent. I think if Real Madrid were playing well, especially if there was no injuries, I don't think Trent would be even under consideration at the moment. He's not the only one under consideration, but if Perez was to do something in January, he would want to do it on the cheap. That's what the papers have been writing here for months, and you know that because I update you. The mood, I don't want to really repeat myself over and over again, but, we've said for months, haven't we, that Trent and his representation, if you like, wanted to drag this out as long as possible to see if Real Madrid do come knocking. I think if his contract wasn't running low and he was a £100 million player or 80, 90 million player, I don't think Real Madrid would touch him personally. I think Trent would rather move in the summer if he was to get that opportunity to go there. I don't think he'd to be seen walking out on the club in mid-season, and also the benefits of leaving in the summer means a huge signing-on fee. There is a young kid there. I can't remember his name because it's been a couple of weeks since I've been doing this with you guys. I think it's Jesus Fortea, maybe, Fortea. I think he's a teenager. He's a right back. There were suggestions that he could prevent the a potential Trent Alexander-Arnold transfer because he's stepped up. He's doing really well. But I personally think he's too young. And he's just around the team. Ancelotti's wanted him to stay with the team. I think if he'd have been a couple of years older, I think that would have prevented all talk of Trent Alexander-Arnold being considered by Real Madrid. You know, in the article, the same article, it mentioned that Ancelotti was preparing for upcoming games, touched on Liverpool, and says it highlights the challenge of dealing with numerous injuries while maintaining a successful strategy for these important games. So they're starting to talk about Liverpool a little bit. Well, not really, but there's, they're saying like, we've got this defensive crisis, we're playing Liverpool. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that game. I've always said that I thought that we would see the Trent, speculation increase as we approach this game, which I think we have. Even if it was complete bullshit, I think you would be subjected to it around this game because Real Madrid are masters of rocking the boat and destabilising and creating, unsettling other teams and things like that. So, that's it really. There's nothing really in the papers. But I think it's important that I tell you when there's nothing in the papers regarding Trent as well as when there is. It's very easy to go, there's this in the papers. But I want to show you, what is actually happening here, what is actually being said here, because there are journalists out there that want you to believe that, it's all this speculation and all this, interest in Trent. The interest is obviously there in Trent. But be careful of where you're reading this. I'm seeing a lot of animosity from these numpties here on social media. These accounts are just keywords, by the way. So please don't. If you see an account there, don't think, no. I like to see what these fuckers are saying for you, right? But I've seen some claims on there that is creating more of a bad vibe towards Trent. He's demanding this and he wants to be that. I wouldn't pay any attention to those kind of things, to be honest with you. There's two ways of looking at the Trent situation, right? One. What a wanker, local lad. He's got the opportunity to be the captain of the team for years, a real hero, a superstar. He's not going to be a superstar if he goes to Real Madrid. He's not going to have the patience of the fans if he goes there. They'll be throwing pigs' heads at him and everything if he makes a single mistake. Do you know what I mean? He's not a superstar at Real Madrid, but he would be at Liverpool. But then there's the other side of it where you can turn around and say, completely understand why he'd want to go to a more ambitious club. Real Madrid are a more ambitious club than Liverpool. Our owners are not going to spend, invest more in the team to try and become, champions. They're not going to spend more because that's eating into their profits. So our owners are quite happy to finish first, second, third or fourth because we're a Champions League club. That's where the revenue is, right? So, whereas Real Madrid, they want to be the best. That's what Liverpool used to be like, by the way. Do you know what I mean? Many, many years ago. But that's not the mentality now. So you can look at it two ways. Trent, you're the biggest whatever. Or you can look at it and say, well, do you blame him? Do you know what I mean? So we can remember this. Bear this in mind, right? Trent might want them to come in for him, but they might not come in for him. And I know that sounds a little bit obvious, but I don't believe this narrative that these talks are already ongoing and it's close to agreement and all that. I don't believe it, to be honest with you. I just don't believe that. I think it's more wishful thinking on the Alexander-Arnold side, and it's been like that for months, and that's why they're stalling, right? But the fact that Real Madrid have had this so-called injury crisis, that the results are not going for them, and they might be forced into the market, helps Trent with that opportunity. That possibility of moving there, and then he has the option to consider, right? Do you know what I mean? Personally, I'm sure you'd agree with me. I'm sick of hearing about it. And I couldn't care less what he does. I couldn't care less what I've seen better players leave Liverpool over the years. That's not digging at him, it's just true. I've seen world-class players leave Liverpool, and Liverpool Football Club has survived, right? And always will survive. There isn't one negative for me with Trent, even if you say, like, can you blame him? And that is the fact that I don't feel like he's being very honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've seen the other players of, when I say Salah and Virgil, they seem to be more like quite honest and more convincing with the words. Trent could come out and say something and he hasn't. He's choosing not to. And because he's not saying anything, because he's not alluding to anything, that's confirmation to me that he's leaving the door open on a possible move to Real Madrid. But if he goes there, I don't think it'd work for him. Anyway, that's by the by. My opinions are irrelevant on this one. I'm just telling you what's in the papers and what isn't. And today there's no mention of Trent. However, when the internationals are out of the way, that could change. Watch this space. All right, guys? I'm sorry if it's not a very good video. I'm sorry if I've repeated myself at all. I've attempted this video several times. I might have repeated myself multiple times in this video. I don't know. It's my first day back, so I'm all over the place with things. If you do appreciate the video, please thumbs up the video. Please drop me a comment. Give me your latest thoughts on this situation. And if you want to buy me a beer or a coffee or tomorrow's newspapers, just hit the super thanks button under the video, the love heart, and I'll give you a shout out in tomorrow morning's briefing. All right, guys, take it easy, and hopefully we'll speak real soon. All right.